Fujifilm have just announced the X100VI at X Summit in Tokyo. Now, Fujifilm claimed that this camera is for creatives who want the simplicity of everyday carry but without sacrificing their image quality. In this video, I will be going over all the new hardware changes and features in the X100VI, and I will be giving my honest opinion on if it is worth it to upgrade to this camera or even buy this camera in the first place. But I do want you to know that my opinion could change later on when I do get my hands on the camera and actually review it. Now, there is a lot to unpack here. There's a lot of similarities to the X100V, and I will go over the new features and some of the important things that have not changed. To start off, the X100VI body is pretty much the exact same body as the X100V. It is also 40 grams heavier and 3 millimeters deeper. So basically, they did not sacrifice much when it comes to the size of the camera. And if you do have the leather case of the X100V, note that this leather case will still work for the X100VI, but it will be a tighter and more snug fit. Now, the X100VI, similarly to the X100V, is not fully weather resistant. You will need the weather resistance kit that is sold on Fujifilm's website if you want to be 100% sure that nothing will ruin your camera. But if you do have this weather resistance kit, it will still work on the X100VI. Now, the X100VI also uses the same lens as the X100V, which is the 23mm f2, and that is equivalent to a 35mm focal length. It also has one SD card slot and the same LCD screen and viewfinder as the X100V. But speaking of the flat tilt LCD screen, it now tilts up to 45 degrees instead of 30 degrees when tilting it towards you. So we do have 15 degrees more of tilt. Now, on the body of the X100VI, we still have the super intelligent flash. That is pretty much the same flash that has been used in the X100V. And finally, when it comes to the body of the camera, because they did not want to sacrifice the size of the X100VI, it uses the same old batteries that are in the X100V. The X100VI also now has an upgraded sensor, and it uses the X-Trans CMOS 5, which is basically a 40 megapixel sensor. It is the same one used in the XH series, in the XH2, and also the same one in the X-T5. Now, because this is a point and shoot camera and you have to zoom in by moving your feet, having a 40 megapixel sensor is a blessing because that means you can crop into your images without losing a lot of quality. Now, the main attraction of the X100 series is the film simulations, and the X100VI will have 20 film simulations with 3 new ones making their debut on the X100VI. That just means more film recipes for us to play around with. And on the new X100VI, we can now shoot at a 4:3 ratio or a 5:4 ratio. With the new X100VI, you can now shoot up to 11 frames per second in continuous high on the mechanical shutter, or if you switch to the electronic shutter, you can now shoot up to 20 frames per second. And speaking of the electronic shutter, if you do switch to the electronic shutter, you now have the option to shoot with 1/180,000 shutter speed, which means you can freeze pretty much anything you want. And the X100VI has in-body image stabilization, or IBIS, and now we can expect more stable video footage and sharper photos. But moving on to the processor of the X100VI, the X100VI's processor has been upgraded to the X Processor 5, and that is the same one in the XH2S and the XT5. It means two things. One, better AI autofocus and subject detection, and 20% in power reduction, and this means you will save up on battery life. Now, we all know the X100 series is pretty much a photo-centric camera. It's not meant to take videos, but the X100VI has been massively upgraded when it comes to video capabilities. Nowadays, with the age of social media, everyone is shooting video. Now, the X100VI can shoot up to 6.2K in 422 10-bit, and it can shoot in both F-Log and F-Log2. But do note that the highest bitrate that you can shoot in when it comes to 6.2K is 200 megabits per second, and that is true for pretty much all other video formats. The X100VI can also do 4K 60, and it can also do high-speed recording and slow motion, and it can do up to 240 frames per second, but only in full HD. The X100VI still features the internal ND that was in the X100V, and we still have up to 4 stops of ND. And that means you can shoot your videos outdoors when it's sunny without having to put on an ND filter. And finally, the X100VI will retail for $21.60 Canadian for the body and obviously the lens that is. As this video, the X100VI is definitely considered an upgrade over the X100V. But is it worth to upgrade if you do have an X100V? And to give my honest opinion, I have created this flowchart right here that you see in front of you, and I will leave this flowchart in the description for you to download. This flowchart basically is my opinion right now on whether you should get the X100VI or not. But I do want to mention that my opinion could possibly change in the next few weeks when I get my hands on the X100VI and have a full-length review on it. But that is it for this video. It is a first impressions and quick summary of the X100VI's new features. If you like this video, consider liking. If you want to subscribe, feel free. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.